Welcome to week 7. We're a third of the way through the NFL regular season, so let's take a look at what happened in week 6. Starting off, we've got Eric versus Rachel. Rachel kept on rolling as she took her fourth straight win over Eric in week 6. She didn't get a lot from Justin Herbert or Julio Jones, but Jonathan Taylor, James Robinson, and Marvin Jones gave her 70 of her 124 total points. Eric was let down by Myles Gaskin once again, as well as by Chase Claypool, neither player breaking 5 points for the week. The final of this one was 110 to 124. Rachel will look to make it 5 in a row this week as she takes on Jared. Susan and Natalie played their 12th meeting in week 6. Natalie got out to a great start with 25 from Jalen Hurts on Thursday, and a 36-point performance from CeeDee Lamb helped to make up for the fact that she didn't actually pick up a tight end to fill in, and gave Jake Butt, the free agent, his first start of the season. Susan was disappointing across the board, as only 4 of her players met their projections, and 2 of them were her kicker and defense. In the end, Jake Butt was enough for Natalie, as the score at the end of Monday night was 113 to 97, with Natalie taking her third straight game. Susan has now dropped 5 in a row, and in week 7 she'll take on Kang and the cursed city of Atlanta. Dan got his shot at revenge for last year's loss to Eric with a K. Dan didn't quite get what he wanted from Chris Godwin and the Bucs defense on Thursday, but a strong week from Joe Mixon and Josh Allen made up for it. While Eric with a K, looked formidable coming into the week, the loss of CMC once again killed the morale of Eric the Red, leaving 6 of his players under their projections for the week. Dan takes this one 124 to 106, and Eric with a K will have to bounce back quickly as he takes on Eric with a C this week. In the runback of week 3, Anna took notes from Jacksonville on how to break a losing streak. Matthew Stafford and Noah Fant put up big numbers as Anna earned her first win of the season against Catherine. Nunya Breezeness looked shaky coming into the week without Alvin Kamara or Elijah Mitchell, and even waiver pickup Khalil Herbert looked rough until Damian Williams was placed on COVID reserve, leaving Herbert at the top of the rotation for Chicago. Herbert showed up with 19 points, but down weeks from Mike Evans and the Broncos defense kept Catherine from closing the gap. The final of this one was 115 to 106. Catherine will have to shake this one off and get ready to face Dan in week 7. After 2 straight league-topping weeks, Kang took his foot off the gas in week 6. His score this week was the 3rd lowest in the league, above only Susan and Kathy. Luckily, Kathy's injury and bye-week struggles weighed her squad down, and she wasn't helped by Mike Williams' 5-point game either. Kang was able to sneak by on the back of good games from Antonio Brown and Najee Harris to take this one 100 to 94. Kathy's back down to 3-3 on the year, and this week she squares off against Anna. Nobody beats Jared 5 times in a row, but Caroline sure did come close. She got a great 30-point game from Leonard Fournette in the Thursday night opener, but Jamal Williams and Zach Pascal both fell flat, leaving the door open for Jared to put some distance between them with his trio of Vikings scoring 80 points. It's possible Stephon Diggs could have changed the outcome if Josh Allen didn't slip on 4th down, but in the end, Jared walks away with a 148 to 143 victory over his wife. Caroline falls to 2-4, and she'll look to bounce back this week against Kyle. Kyle was Dave's problem in the Rfffl Game of the Week for Week 6, and this one was a nail-biter. Kyle came into Monday night in need of a huge game from Derrick Henry, and that's exactly what he got. It was a 40-point margin at the beginning of the game, and King Henry's 3-touchdown performance, paired with Randy Bullock's 10 points, pushed Kyle over the top and back into first place by a score of 150 to 145. Dave falls to 4-2 with the loss, and he'll have a rematch with Natalie in Week 7. With Week 6 games in the books, let's take a look at our standings. Kyle, as I said, is back on top with his win over Dave. Kang and Natalie are holding on tight to 2nd and 3rd, though Kang's weak outing lets Natalie creep up within 5 points of 2nd place. Dave drops down to 4th with his loss, where he's followed by Rachel in 5th and Jared in 6th. Eric the Red is the first team out, followed by Kathy and the Pouty Puppies in 8th. Dan jumps up 3 spots to 9th, followed by Caroline in 10th and Eric in 11th. Catherine falls down to 12th, followed by Anna, who has climbed up out of last to 13th, and Susan, who replaced her at the bottom. We've got plenty of roster moves this week, including another trade, in which Kyle gave Anna DeAndre Swift in exchange for Devontae Adams. This gives Anna a clear RB1 over James Conner and Melvin Gordon, and it beefs up Kyle's receiving core, putting Adams alongside Justin Jefferson and Deontay Johnson. It's also been a busy week in ad drops. Anna dropped the Seahawks defense for the Packers, dropped Jason Myers for Graham Gano, and dropped Eric Ebron for Dan Arnold all before last week's games. And also this week on waivers, she dropped Phillip Lindsay to pick up Saquon Barkley. Susan dropped Calvin Ridley for Nelson Aguilar, which caused a scramble to see who could grab Ridley. He ended up falling to Caroline, who used him to fill a spot left by trade acquisition Dallas Goedert's COVID designation. Caroline also dropped Zach Pascal to pick up the Ravens defense. Catherine dropped the Bengals to pick up the Broncos. Jared dropped David Njoku after his trade with Caroline processed. He then added Ricky Seals-Jones to fill a roster spot left by Chris Carson's move to the IR, and he picked up Dearness Johnson and Tua Tagovailoa, dropping the Panthers defense and Daniel Jones. Kathy dropped Marquez Valdes-Scantling to pick up Brandon Bolden after Damian Williams was placed on COVID reserve last week. She later dropped Traquan Smith and Saquon Barkley and picked up the Patriots defense and Zane Gonzalez. On Wednesday morning, she dropped Taylor Heineke to pick up Khalif Raymond. Kyle dropped Rodrigo Blankenship to pick up Randy Bullock before the games last week. He also dropped Peyton Barber to pick up Jeremy McNichols, who he would later drop for Ramondre Stevenson. Eric with a C picked up Amon-Ra St. Brown and dropped Jeremy McNichols before the games last week. After the games, he dropped St. Brown to pick up David Montgomery, who he placed on reserve. He then dropped the Bears defense to pick up Traquan Smith and grabbed the Raiders defense to fill in while David Montgomery's on reserve. Eric with a K added Rashad Bateman to fill in for the re-injured Christian McCaffrey. Dave picked up Deshaun Watson to fill one of two empty spots left by Russell Wilson and Kareem Hunt, both being moved to injured reserve. Dan dropped Randall Cobb to pick up T.Y. Hilton and dropped Van Jefferson to grab C.J. Uzama. King dropped David Montgomery and added wide receiver Quez Watkins, despite the fact that he could have placed Montgomery on reserve and also only has one available running back as of Wednesday. Kang therefore dropped Quez Watkins along with Alan Lazard to pick up Kyle Juszczyk and Younghoe Koo. Rachel dropped Elijah Moore and Robbie Anderson for Russell Gage and Devontae Parker. She also dropped Albert O to pick up Jimmy G. That's all the moves so far, so let's take a look at the matchups. We've got a Battle of the Erics this week, and it's only fitting. Darth Sidious took the win last year, and he's the last of three managers who took a game from Eric with a K in 2020. Neither team has any stake in the Thursday game, but Jameis Winston will take the stage on Monday night to try to bring home a win for the Senate. NFL.com prefers melodrama, as they have Eric with a K pulling through with an optimized score of 118 to 113. After a tough loss to Jared last week, Caroline now has to set her sights on Kumquat Calamity and their freshly installed wide receiver 1 in Devontae Adams. Kyle traded away DeAndre Swift, leaving him with only Derrick Henry available this week until he grabbed Ramondre Stevenson as his second running back. He'll need Adams to pick up the slack, especially with Deontay Johnson and Justin Jefferson on byes this week, because Caroline did win the race for Calvin Ridley. Caroline took last year's square off, and NFL.com says she does it again by a score of 120 to 119. Dan and Catherine face off this week. Dan is coming in on the back of a huge win over Eric with a K, and Catherine gave up a hard loss to Anna. Dan has a few issues to work through, as both Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield will be unavailable this week, as well as Dalton Schultz and Gabriel Davis. Catherine is near full strength, with Keenan Allen as her only unavailable player. Dan can rework his lineup all he wants, but NFL.com gives this one to Catherine by a score of 117 to probably somewhere around 108 once Dan gets a functional quarterback. Aunt Fanny takes on Kang this week. Kang has run into some serious trouble with both Austin Eckler and Najee Harris unavailable this week, and he'll be sending out Gio Bernard and Kyle Juszczyk as his starting running backs. Susan will be out with Amari Cooper. I left this part of the script blank, but at the end of the day, Susan is projected to take down win number 2 by a score of 102 to 94. In another Week 3 rematch, Natalie and Dave line up opposite each other this week. Dave won the first game, and this week Natalie has a bench full of byes on top of an injured Nick Chubb. She'll be without Zach Moss, Emmanuel Sanders, and CeeDee Lamb, most notably, and her best candidate for RB2 is Trey Sermon. It's a rough week to work through, but if nothing else, she won't have many byes to worry about from here on out. Unsurprisingly, NFL.com has Dave taking this one 132 to about 90 if Trey Sermon plays. After a 5-game skid to start the season, Anna and Dizzy's Dummies have a great shot to record their first 2-game win streak. Kathy and the Pouty Bubbies can't catch a break with 6 players on bye and 3 players on reserve. Kathy has 1 player projected to score more than 15 points in Lamar Jackson. NFL.com says this one gets ugly with a projected final of 119 to 89. And in the Week 7 game of the week, 3-3 Jared takes on 4-2 Rachel. Rachel got her first win of the season in Week 3 when these two teams squared off, and she hasn't lost a game since. This week, however, she'll have to work through a severe shortage of skill players with Justin Herbert, James Robinson, Marvin Jones, and Ezekiel Elliott all on byes this week. She's got a backup quarterback pickup in Jimmy Garoppolo, and her starting running backs will be Ty Johnson and Jonathan Taylor. She picked up Russell Gage and Devontae Parker to fill in for Jones and Robinson, leaving her with a projected 95 points. It's a big hill to climb, and she's already fallen behind because Jared picked up Dearness Johnson to fill in his running back spots, since he's got 4 Vikings on bye, along with the injured Dawson Knox. According to NFL.com, Jared is dressed for revenge by a final of 116-96. That's all for this week. Next week marks the midpoint of the fantasy regular season, so anything can happen. I'll see you next Thursday, and as always, go Bills.